Sup Romans, my name is Insavian, and before we start off this top 5, I want to say thank you so much to the other top 5. First of all, I put in the link in the description below, but I also didn't expect it to do so freaking well. I expected it to get like, what, maybe 50 views at most? Because I'm like, whatever, my channel's kind of small, and you know, if this does kind of well, I'll keep on doing it, and hopefully that can go well. But the first one, I got like, oh, I'm so happy. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. But anyway, let's get started to the intro of this top 5. So, this top 5 is going to go over top 5 Doujin fighting games. Now, if you don't know what Doujins are kind of like original works based off fans. So like, you know how people make fan fiction? Think of it like that, except it goes into manga, anime, games, and sometimes it's not even based off actual series of these categories like mangas, videos, and games. It can also be your own original sort of work, like the games in the top 5 I'm going to be discussing to you. So they're basically just stuff made by fans and distributed how they want to be distributed. It's a long story, but it's not really that complicated. It's just fan stuff, okay? It's basically just fan stuff, alright? So this top 5 is going to be covering how I feel that these 5 games in particular may be the best amongst them, because I find these games randomly. And like when I'm looking for stuff to do for D.I.Os and actually recording for, D.I.Os, I always come across these random fighting games that just make me go like, oh, this seems interesting, let's try it out. And then over about a year of doing this randomly, I figured now I think is a good time to collectively make a list on what I feel is the best Doujin fighter. One more thing, I'm never doing that again. But before this top 5 starts, I'm gonna do the best that I can to put links in the description below to each respective game. Because when I come across these games on accident, I don't necessarily keep the source itself. So if the other videos I use for this video just so happen to have the link, I'ma just put that in the description. And if I can't find a link for a specific game, I apologize. And hopefully I can actually find all these games, because freaking I came across these at random. I didn't know I'd be using them for material in a top 5. Like so, now that we got that out of the way, let's get started and see where this list takes us. Let's start this off with something a tad bit weird. The game is called Ogan Muso Kyoko Cross, if my pronunciation of the game is correct. This game, if I recall correctly, is a 3-button fighter in which only 2 of them are actual attacks and the third one's an assist or a tag out? I don't know. But this game, or rather basically all these games from here on, are just traditional fighters, and by traditional I mean like motions, so they're not like weird gimmicky fighting games that require one button into one button into one button and then that's it. But what makes this game pretty good on the list is it's basically 2D Tekken tag tournament, because you can actually switch between 2 characters that you choose and fight alongside. Shoot, there's an easier way to explain this. You know how Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom has assists, or like Skullgirls has assists too? It's like that, and they're tag team. It's tag team stuff, okay? I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of examples, but all of them are meaning the same thing, so I'm trying to not look like an idiot, while at the same time look like an idiot. The game is actually pretty good, because, well, when we initially recorded this back in like 2015, we expected to do like 20 minutes of it, and we got those 20 minutes, but we also ended up playing the game for roughly 2 hours more past that. And then we're like, alright, I think we're done with this game. So, this game feels, the game feels kind of off-putting and weird when you first get into it, but when you kind of figure out how to play it, it actually is really fun. Now, I say kind of figure out how to play it because till this day, there's this like weird, move that changes the scenery in the background and the music, and I still don't know what that does. So, maybe if I did some research and actually figured out what it would do, it may be higher up on the list. But this game is really good considering how none of us really understood what it was doing. But since we're familiar with fighting games, we kind of understood its gameplays a tad bit. But even if we'd probably had figured out what the game is about, it probably wouldn't be as good as all these other games I'm going to talk about. Oh god, I feel like I butchered that completely. Going to number 4 on our list will be Million Nights Vermilion. I didn't expect this game to actually be on this list, considering that I found it recently, just looking for, again, random fighting games to do for D.I.Os, but I ended up immediately liking this game, because when I first came across it randomly, I'm like, oh, this game looks interesting, let's try it out. And then it took me about 2 or 3 hours to actually find the download itself, and then to actually install it. But once it started, I was like, I went into training mode immediately, played as all the characters, and only 2 were interesting enough to me to actually play as. One was being Smile, the dude I actually almost lost to during that random lack of D.I.O, and then Virginia, whose moveset is actually pretty good. And considering this game is basically just light, medium, hard, or basically a 3-button fighter, no, it's not a 3-button fighter, it's a 4th button. I don't necessarily know what that 4th button does, but when you use it, it kind of looks like time stops around you, in which I first thought it was time stopping, because once you use that button, everything around you just stops, and then you just repeatedly combo the dude, but the moment you drop the combo, everything goes back to normal. So your goal is to basically keep as high of a combo as possible, so you can keep quote-unquote time stop, but it's not time stop, you can see the timer just actually going down. This I don't know, freaking, when I accidentally came across this game, I didn't expect it to enjoy the game so freaking much. I mean, it's technically a hyper fighter because it links combos immediately. Well, shoot, I guess hyper fighter in the context of the Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter, because those are like immediately button to button to button to button to button, like input, not just actual button. And that's the feel I got for this game, and which made me enjoy it so freaking much, because I didn't expect this game to be I didn't expect it to be this solid. I mean, seriously, the games I talk about further on are better because of specific reasons, but literally, if I didn't come across this game, I wouldn't know how I felt when this video was done, and then I came across this game, because then I'd be like, oh god, do I have to redo the entire top 5 again because I changed my mind. I changed my mind so much. Ugh. I'm serious, freaking, I have the download link to this, so amongst all these games, this is definitely, you know, the 4th game I'd want you to play. No, the 4th game in context of first Ogon and then this. So really check this game out if you can, or you have the time, or just look it up, or go to this video. Like, this video kind of shows pseudo gameplay, but it feels better to know a game, like not just a fighting game, a game in general, by playing it first before you can make a sort of opinion based on it. Anyway, and now for a story that was before YouTube. Well, before me wanting to do stuff on YouTube. Let me explain the game first. The game is known as Shades of Manhattan 2. I don't think we've ever actually found the first one, but this game was before I decided to even start up a YouTube channel, because I was hanging out at Mania or Sal's house, and what we normally did there was play Third Strike. And then one of those days, we played Third Strike so much, we were like, oh, alright, I think we're done for now. Let's play some other fighting games. I'm like, do you have other fighting games? And that's when he put up this game called Battle High. And it wasn't good. I think I have footage of Battle High somewhere in our strange archive of videos, but it wasn't necessarily that good. So now we're like, oh wow, this game's kind of bad. Let's see if we can find others. And what we ended up doing was, I don't know, after like 40 minutes, coming across this game called Shades of Manhattan, and we saw the sprite works for it, and we're like, oh wow, this game actually looks bad, let's try it out. And then we started up the game, chose characters. I believe I was first Chad and Black and he was Kane, and then immediately after that, we did another match. So, what I'm trying to say is that we put a lot of time into that game. Because in this D.I.O, the D.I.O that's being shown to you right now, and I'm sorry if I haven't explained this yet, D.I.O means Duke It Outs, in which me and my crew just fight in whatever kind of versus games that we have available. And our initial time for D.I.Os normally consists of 20 to 25 minutes, 30 minutes at most if we're lucky. That Shades of Manhattan D.I.O almost took about 50 minutes. So we initially set off the game going like, oh, this game's probably gonna be okay. I don't expect us putting that much time into it, and then we'll find something else and see if we'll maybe like it. We put like hours into this game, and the only thing that we felt was missing from it, because it feels super traditional, we felt that it was missing parries. Because it had overheads, it had good grabs, it had EXs, freaking, we're just like, if this had parries, it'd be totally set. But even though the game sprite works like don't look the best, the gameplay is super freaking solid and familiar. You won't pick up this game and go like, oh, this feels like nothing I've ever played before, because it feels like the others, and that's what makes it just as good as all these other games, because you'll feel right at home, and you'll also look past their freaking sprite work animation, because the game itself is actually really good. And I don't know, this like has a personal place in my heart, only because of we found it before I considered doing YouTube, and then when we played it during one of our sessions, we played it for so much on camera, we kind of forgot we were recording sometimes. You're like, oh shoot, we should stop the recording, I think we played this too much. But this game's really good. I really hope I can find the download link for this game too, because I'm gonna be saying that a lot, because these next couple of games are actually really, like, these are games I could not recommend to you more, like, on a Doujin fighter perspective. Like, straight up, these games are actually really good. Alright, so this is where I'm getting a little iffy on the term Doujin, because this game was made in China, and I believe they have free range over everything? So maybe it's considered as a Doujin, I'm not entirely sure. But one thing's for certain, if it was classified specifically as a Doujin, Dong Dong Never Die would remain to be number 2 on this list. Now, this is the funniest, weirdest game you'll ever see. Like, on fighting game standards. Cause look, first of all, look at this character select screen menu. We have all these, you know Mortal Kombat? You know how Mortal Kombat just had characters doing the animation, and then you kind of just put that in? Or, I'm not necessarily sure how old Mortal Kombat used to work, but I think you know what I'm talking about. This game basically did the same thing, except, the positions and the characters are twice as weird as you'd expect. And then there's like this girl who can shoot Optimus Primes as her super, and then everybody's meter is like 6 at minimum. I'm like, what is this game? And then we have Mario who's just a Ryu clone. Oh my god. Wait, shoot, who was the other guy? There's this guy who's kept on summoning League of Legends monsters? Like this priest dude? This game is so weird. But it's like, why is it so good? It's like, it's so weird and, oh god. Like, as you can, it's a 4-button fighter. Like, I can't think of what to say in a serious note for this. Like, you have to actually play the game to understand why I can't actually explain this game, because it takes knowing the game for you to go like, yeah, I see what you mean. Like, I can't necessarily say too much about this without having somebody literally play the game and experiencing it for yourself, because words cannot describe this game as a whole. I'm serious. Oh, God. I really hope I meet up with my crew soon, because I kind of want to play this game again for like another hour. Oh, God. We have fun on this channel, I swear to you. Of course I'm doing honorable mentions. Freaking what top 5 wouldn't have at least one honorable mention? But mine has to be. Anyway, so these games aren't on the list for very specific reasons. And let me explain. This first one is known as Hyper Dragon Ball Z. The game in which I played this again recently for the sake of this video, and I began thinking, this game may be more on the lines of not Street Fighter, I was trying to prevent saying Street Fighter. This game is more on the lines of King of Fighters as opposed to Street Fighter. Now I'm only saying this because of how it links combos together, because I've played King of Fighters recently for, like, I don't know, a good amount of time, so I kind of felt more of a King of Fighters feel as opposed to Street Fighter, even though the freaking moves and animations are basically based off certain Street Fighter moves, i.e. like Air Tatsu and Hadouken. But if you play this game, you'll understand that it actually does feel more on the lines of King of Fighters only because of its clutch timing for combos. Because you know how King of Fighters 14 had that max mode? It's kind of on the lines of that. That's the only reason why. It just felt like you had to be way more precise in King of Fighters than in Street Fighter, in which that's the kind of feel I got for this game, Hyper DBZ. But another reason why I actually didn't put this on the full list is because the game's not done yet, i.e. it's still being updated, so it's currently on the Majin build, which is really weird because Majin, Super Buu, I believe, Super Buu isn't actually playable yet, as well as Piccolo or Goten. But seeing that we're not necessarily too huge of Dragon Ball Z fans, we love fighting games. So this game definitely deserves an honorable mention, and hopefully when this game's actually fully done, maybe I'll come back to this list and rearrange it a bit, because, you know, Hybrid DBZ is totally freaking done, and it may be better than... I'll probably put it after Ogon Muso, and then like, I could just get rid of Ogon Muso as a whole, because freaking we have full DBZ to deal with. Next up, we have Big Bang Beat's First Impression. I believe there's also another one known as Big Bang Beat Revolver, but I believe I played the game known as First Impression. Now, this game kind of has a Yatagarasu, I can't even say the name, Yatagarasu-esque feel, but the only reason why I didn't put this on the main list is because I don't know enough about it. Because I had this downloaded for a D.I.O, as the case for basically all these fighting games, but I didn't sit down enough to actually play the game, because I've got gameplay feels of it. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, we can just figure this out during the recording. But since all this took place, since we all graduated recently, it's actually been really hard to do any sort of D.I.O in the slightest, which is why I had to make like a sub-series known as Lack of D.I.Os, because I don't have D.I.Os. So if I had spent more time actually figuring out this specific set of series, or mainly this game, I may have put it more on the list, but I'm giving an honorable mention for the short amount of time I've actually spent on this game. Because that short amount of time was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Maybe if I spend more time on it, maybe I'll understand the mechanics a little more and go like, oh, sure, this deserves a list or something. But I never was able to get to that. But I do remember how good it felt to play, and how, what was it? There's this weird fish and, like, not Vocaloid, this weird freaking gyroid type of, like, the characters are weird. The gameplay is actually pretty solid, as is the case in all of these games, but this game definitely deserves an honorable mention. I only wish I had more time to be put into this game, but I really didn't want to invest too much time into some of these fighting games because I wanted to save that for the D.I.O. I want to see if we can figure out more stuff about it while we're recording, as to me having the higher ground, and investing all this time so I can claim to be better and still lose no matter what. God. Lastly, for my list of honorable mentions, this game was initially going to be number 5 on my list, but there's one actual reason why I switched it from being in top 5 to honorable mention. Before there was Pokken Tournament, there was Pokemon Type Wild. Now look at these sprite animations. Not bad, right? Look at this character select. Not the best, but hey, it's a work in progress. Or it could have been if the game was finished. I believe the beta, or the still now beta, is like, what, 0.53 or something like that. This game is not finished, and will never be finished. And someone translated this game into English, hoping that once the game was actually done, they can actually improve some of like the technical difficulties for this game. Because this game has like normal, traditional stuff, assist button, or you can either choose not to have an assist and have all that PP, I believe it's going for power points, into your being, and you can kind of just work without using an assist or several assists or whatever. But this game is not finished. So the problems that this game kind of has, like maybe a more diverse cast or maybe just weird clips in animation at certain points, not all the time, is the main reason why it's not on the top 5. If this game was completely finished, I'm pretty sure this game would actually be number 5 on this list. But literally, because this game is not finished and will probably never be finished, I cannot put this on number 5 because there are things missing. And like I truly wish this game was totally finished just so I can talk about it more. But hold up, I gotta remember, we have what, Snorlax, who I believe is Charge, Combuskin, and Blaziken, who are basically powered up versions of each other, if I recall correctly. We have Swalot, Gardevoir, who else? Lopunny, Breloom. Freaking not bad choices for fighting game characters. It's just that the game needs to be finished. Like, I'm serious. This is literally the only reason why it's not number 5, because this was about to be number 5, and then I played it again, and I was like, shoot, this game's not even finished. And like Hyper Dragon Ball Z, the game is still being updated, but Pokemon Type Wild is like completely cancelled and never gonna get updated again. Now, hopefully, by the time this video comes up, I truly hope that this freaking Pokemon Type Wild doesn't get into like 0.55 or something, and then I'll be like, oh god dang it, are they working on it more? And I have to do all this again. And it's just, if this, I'm saying the same thing, but I'm trying to like nail this into you. If this game was completely finished, this totally would have been number 5 on the list, and Ogon Muso would have been the honorable mention. This is literally the only reason I'm just discussing this. Now, for number 1's gonna take me some time to explain, because as you've probably noticed, this top 5 is actually a lot longer than the other top 5, and the only reason why for that is because I have a lot more to say as opposed to the Street Fighter V one. In Street Fighter V, I freaking talked about each character for like about a minute per, and then I talked about the honorable mentions for like 5 minutes, and then the number 1 for like 3 minutes. So it got really weird time-wise. But now that I'm talking about each game more, and I'm trying to be more in-depth in detail, that's kind of the reason why everything is spaced out correctly, as opposed to you're halfway in the video and I'm already at number 2. But this game's gonna take some time for me to explain why it's actually number 1. Now, I'll get to the title itself in a second, but let me explain the first reason why I actually want it on here. And if I talk about the game I'm referring it to, you might already know, and if not, just bear with me for a second. So, I don't know when exactly, but there's this game that I wanted to try out that was being ported to PC, which I didn't have a PlayStation 3 at the time, so I just wanted to try out the game for the sake of trying it out. This game I'm referring to is known as Undernight Inbirth EXE:late. Like, in short, it's called UNO, but this game is a hyper fighter, and when I'm saying hyper fighter in this case, it's like Skullgirls hyper fighter if it was one-on-one. Now, this game can be pretty broken because people, if you fully commit to this game, you can create infinites, and like you can see how freaking powerful players are, but it's really hard to come out. Now, the reason why I wanted to play this game was because of one specific character, because as I was looking around, I wanted to see if there's anyone I'd want to pick up, and that's when I came across Akatsuki. Now, this guy actually looks pretty cool. He has the moveset I'd be interested in, he has a projectile, he has his like Tatsu kick, and he's basically my ideal character in a fighting game. Just, you know, the projectile and such. And seeing that the game doesn't come out for about a month or two, I was looking into the game itself a little more, and it turns out that Akatsuki isn't a character from UNO, but a character from another fighting game. And that's this game, Akatsuki Blitzkampf. The number one pick on my top 5 is this beloved gem. The reason why I have this on the top 5 is, well, first of all, the first main reason was for Akatsuki himself. Like, freaking his playstyle or his gameplay literally just hooked me up like that. That was immediate. Now, when you dive into the game further, you come across a little interesting stuff. So the second reason why I enjoy this game so much is because, unlike all the other games I've talked about, not even in honorable mentions, this game has 4-player. Whoa, what was that? Oh, sorry. This game has 4-player, and by 4-player, I don't mean like dead or alive concept of switching in and out of battle. I mean 4-player, like 2v2s or 3v1s. Everybody's on the screen, shared health, shared meter, and we all fight each other at the exact same time. So think of it like Smash. Think of it very similar to Smash. Alright? Now, that on its own, freaking, when we were recording a D.I.O for this, because we actually had time to do a D.I.O for this one, we ended up playing a lot more of the versus, the tag battle, as opposed to the actual 1v1s, because, like, why not? All 4 of us are there. Why would we not spend time fighting each other at the same time with freaking Gun and just going at it? And once we were done recording, I'm getting into number 3 as to why this game has to be on the number 1 on my Doujin list. Once we were done recording, once we all had gone home, well, once one of us had gone home, the 3 of us, me, Forte, Mania, we were still here. I was looking into this game a little more because I just, stop that phone, stop it! I was going into this game a little further to see if there's anything we were missing. Turns out there are 3 more playable characters that we had not touched, so we unlocked them. The first character is known as Adler. Adler is, it looks like a clone of Isoldat. Now, don't care for the names or the story or anything, because I'm just using it as, like, an explanation. If you want, like, an in-depth story of Akatsuki, either look it up, or hope that there's someone on YouTube who did that for you. And another character, who I believe is the final boss, but nerfed to be a more reasonable character, known as Murakumo, whose running animation is the stupidest. But by stupidest, I mean the best of the stupidest. Like, look at this run animation. It's like, if you've seen old shows where their running animations are just like freaking running on stilts or something, like, just look at the running animation. You'll see why it's the stupid best. And then we have Blitz Tank, who's literally just a giant tank with a skull on, like, the top of its face, with quotes. I'm saying face very loosely. And Blitz Tank is not the only reason why this game is super good. It's because when all of us met up again, we didn't do Akatsuki because we didn't just, like, we don't ever, well, we haven't yet done a freaking double D.I.O or like do it over for old fighting games that we've played. But we were playing on Akatsuki Blitzcamp again, and like the idiots we are, we forgot that there was the 4-player battle. So if we had remembered, we would have had 4 Blitz tanks on the screen fighting against each other at the exact same time, and that would have been the best. Now look, Blitz tank is super huge and looks overpowered, but as you can see here, he is not. He is basically another character that you would play in any other fighting game, but he's just big. So you just have to figure him out, and he's just a character. He's not a boss character, he's not completely overpowered, he's not completely underpowered. He's just like a regular old character that you have to figure out just like any other fighting game would. And like, I love this game so much. Because of Yuno, and I was just looking for fighting games because of Akatsuki, I came across this gem that me and the crew can actually say is probably our favorite Doujin fighter. And like, the 4-player really hooked all of us in. And it's super good. We all have characters that we immediately got into upon like the first probably half hour we played, and we just became hooked. So, if I had pastime, if we all had just pastime to play a bunch of random fighting games, I think we'd get all of these games that we discussed about first out of the way, so we can look for something new and weird and see how we think about that later. But we definitely get Akatsuki Blitzcamp, Dong Dong Never Die, and Shades of Manhattan 2 out of the picture. And by that I mean like we play that for like half an hour to an hour each respectively, and then we start working down the list to see how we felt about them afterwards. Cause like, all of these games are actually really good, and they're weird, but they're not weird as in unknown. They're weird as in like, oh, I wouldn't think to do this. Who would? These games are really good, and I love Akatsuki Blitzcamp and Dong Dong Never Die and Shades of Manhattan and Million Nights. Oban Muso, I mean I like it too, but it's just I love the other 4 a lot better. Ooh, freaking Doujin fighters. Doujin fighters have really good perks to them, because not all of them are bad, because you can tell some of them are kind of garbage, and I don't want to like call anything out specifically, but if you find a good Doujin fighter, you'll find a really good Doujin fighter, and then it's literally just a matter of what you feel is the better one. And I can say that proudly, because that was basically the creation of this list, finding out what I felt was the better Doujin fighter, as opposed to what is actually the best Doujin fighter. Because freaking, this is my list. I feel that Akatsuki Blitzcamp is the best Doujin fighter. That's just me. I'm pretty sure someone else would probably say that like Million Nights for Million is the best. I'm not sure. What I'm saying is that all of these games are good. If I can find all of these games in the description, well, if I can find all of them to put them in the description, I suggest playing every single one of them, and then commenting below on your personal list on what you think the games, on what you think this game should actually, like the list should actually be, because this is all based on my opinion. So I could have been completely wrong if it was a freaking top 5 actual list, but these are just games I feel that are really good. And I'm a stand by this. Like, I'm gonna stand by this super hard. I'm sorry, I realized that this video was a lot longer than the other video, than the other top 5, but freaking, I had a ton to say about all these fighting games. This isn't like the top 5 where I didn't know anything about all these characters and I just kinda had to work with my tongue, but these games I knew about and I had to discuss with them as much as I possibly can. So thank you all for watching. I truly suggest that if I can find the games, go in the description below, play them, come back to me and comment that your personal list on all of these games, and then maybe we can discuss on what to do next. But the reason why like, I'm sorry, this list is already longer than I initially thought it would be, which is one of the reasons why it took so long. But there are two main reasons why this video didn't come up sooner. One was because I was practicing for driving, to hopefully pass my driver's test, but I failed. And that's a conversation for another day. But doing the driving practice took a lot of my time, and I had to make sure I was focusing on that. Second reason was because this is not the first draft of this top 5 list. The first one made me feel super rushed, and when I played it back again, I was like, I hate this list so much. I deleted it, and then when I found the time to do it all again, I did it all again. And when I look back at it now, I'm like, I love this list way more than the other one, because the other one just made me go like, oh, this game is actually really good. It was the gameplay mechanics are like, alright, number 4, this game's actually really good, and I didn't like it. Like, me insulting myself, that was basically how it sounded like, and I'm like, if I post this, I will never do a top 5 again, because I hate this so much, and my goal for these top 5s are, even though if this one doesn't do as good as the Street Fighter V one, in which I'm still shocked it did super well, my goal from now on, whenever I do a top 5, I want it to at least be better than the last one. Now, it doesn't have to be better in terms of editing, it can be better in terms of description, emotion, freaking how much thoughts and input I put into all these top 5s, as opposed to let me say words and see what is said and figure out if this works or not. But other than all this crap, thank you all for watching. Please like and sub if you enjoy. If you have a specific top 5 you want me to discuss, I shall figure it out, because I don't intend to make all my top 5s fighting game specific. However, I believe the next one, or maybe the next 2, will be more fighting game related, and then from there I'm going to slowly work my way back into RPGs, only because I wanted the channel to be RPG and fighting. However, I haven't really done anything RPG specific in quite a while, so I want to find a way to incorporate them without having it be like a playthrough, because I realize that playthroughs kind of die out unless you really like the person enough to continue watching. And I just want to incorporate RPGs. I love RPGs just as much as I love fighting games. Cause, like, you know, RPGs are like my solo game and fighting games are my multiplayer. So that basically covers myself on both ends. Now, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate the support I've gotten for the other video. I intend to do this more frequently, and by frequently I mean hopefully bi-weekly. But it really just depends on the top 5, and it really just depends on how long it'll take. But I'm happy I was able to get this up on the Saturday that I initially planned it for. I mean, technically it was a week after the Saturday I planned it for. But I had good reasoning. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you again so much. I truly appreciate how good of a support the top 5s will hopefully get me. And if this one doesn't do as well, I don't care for that. As long as I make each one better than the other one, then I'm accomplished. I'm personally good. I'm just good. All right. So, thank you for your time, and I'll be seeing you. Because I know if I say anything else, I will just make this top 5 longer than it should have been. God. Starting from... No, I am not going to finish that sentence. Number 5 is... I gotta try that again. Alright, number 1's coming up. But before that, let's get to the honorable mentions. Now, the only reason why I didn't put this game in the top 5... Like, you'll see. So, this game is... Before we get to number 1, like last time, I've also made a little honorable mention section. And you'll see why in a second. So, before Pokémon Tournament, we had this little surprisingly fighting... So before...